It is I, Infinity Power, and I've played Rank 4 in previous seasons, so that means I'm partially qualified to present the rank guide to the maps of the December and January rank seasons with these on screen. Along with yesterday's massive balance changes that just dropped, I'm going to cover notable best commanders, strategy, builds, build order involved, and etc. Of course, the first map we have is Balls. Balls is the most unique map and also the most controversial map in all of Ranked, and this is why I think you really need a tutorial for this one in particular. So, it's obviously aesthetically it's very different with the dark background color and the presence of like enormous amount of expansions on this map, including for example its bottom expansion that's virtually impossible to keep unless you have a commander like Shakana. So this is why out of the commander tier list, Shakana is the easy S tier, while any other commanders the closest second would only be in low B tier. You have to play Shakana on this map or else you're just putting yourself in a massive disadvantage, unfortunately. So first of all, you notice immediately a back mine over here, so there you want to immediately disconnect connect to the disconnected mine, of course, and now you want to go ahead and expand to getting back turbines like this. How you want to expand in this game, usually in this balls map in particular, is you don't want to drag foundation nodes as these are expensive at 50 metal each. You want to go ahead and use the least amount of foundation nodes as possible while expanding as much as possible and in the fast way possible. Or not the correct wording, but you understand what I mean. So you essentially want to drag a full-length Bucks straw over here if you want to stay expanded over here, and then you don't want to go too high or you don't want to go too low. So somewhere like, I don't know, a little bit less than like 30 degrees here, max length, you hold a node out here, and then you go ahead and try to connect down as far as you can to a new foundation node. So something looking like this, and something looking like this. So that's how you want to expand this map. So this is why you see what this structure being employed over here. Now I want to use back turbines because back turbines can't be shot at by, I don't know, enemy stuff. You don't have to put energy shields to defend them, which just makes your life a lot easier. So that's obviously, I want to say the first reason why this map takes so long, because it's impossible to take out your enemy's turbine energy production. So that's going to be a lot of fun. The second thing is the core swing. So you saw the core swing at the start of the game over here. So the core swing brings your core to a basically unkillable spot. I'm going to explain why it's even more unkillable than it seems on the surface in a second here, but what's really important to know is the one to core swing. So buzzsaws come out at 1 minute and 35 seconds as fast as possible, since the workshop takes 60 seconds to build and the buzzsaw takes 35 seconds to build, which means that if like all the stars align, you'll be hit by a buzzsaw earliest at 1 minute and 40 seconds. However, that's if immediately placed tech, which will slow their economy down, and generally speaking, only people who are going for some quick cheese will do something as egregious as that. So how you want to deduce when they go ahead and core swing is you want to go look at your opponent and see how many mines they are. For example, if they have full mines or they have mines at the same speed as you, which is full eco of course, then that means they have not immediately placed workshop, and thus you can core swing as whatever time you want, because so like after all your mines and even after you place your tech, because they'll have buzzsaws very late or they're not intending to go for some goofy rush. However, if you start placing mine and you realize, hey, my opponent's like behind on one or two mines, that means, hey, they spend money on somewhere else, and it's not very likely there's storages unless they're terrible at the game. It's gonna be buzzsaw tech. They're gonna try to go for some sneaky buzzsaw cheats. Then you know you're not done completing all your mines. Maybe you've only placed a couple mines, but then you should probably swing before the 2-minute mark, or else you will have a very bad day. And another reason why Shakana is so strong on this map is because you have this, well, the entire reason why it's so strong, because you have this barrel which allows you to connect to disconnected structures, which includes when you're core swinging, because your core will be detached from your all these nodes over here when you're core swinging, and that does actually allow you to connect to and if you have a shotgun barrel, you'll be still connected, so which gives you more time to core swing, and you won't be economically damaged while that happens. And also, it just generally makes it easier to core swing because the way its nodes connect. Now let's just say we got, assuming our opponent's gone for something normal over here. I don't know what the AI is goofing up with, but let's talk about the core swing here. So there's 5 straws holding up the core. What does it look like? This, and this. Let's count. 1, 2. I don't know what trace in Spanish is. 3, 4, and then now that's the 5th one. So the core strut is this horizontal strut. This is what your core is actually on. You can sell this because you're not going to get buzzsawed off, right? Your core is going to be gone in a second. And once I sell this strut, this will rotate more than 30 degrees, thus disconnecting it from the structure. And then I'm going to have to swing all the way back here. But before we core swing, we got to make sure there's 2 steps before following. First of all, we have the shotgun out barrel over here, and second of all, I want to have like a node where I close enough to the left. Where here's the thing: when you're coursing up here, if you connect to the rope here, there's a rope connecting here, it will just fall into this ball, and if the core touches the terrain for a single second, then you're gonna have a very bad day and you're gonna lose the game immediately. So you want to make sure you have this some sort of connection over here on the left. Maybe this node would also work, where once you're coursing, your core goes over here, you can connect to the left and to the right here, thus holding it somewhere in this section. And now let's talk about the actual coursing. You've sold the 4 struts now, and now you gotta prepare. So the first step, you gotta select your rope, and make sure you have this selected. Second step is you sell this. While you sell this, while this is gonna be slowly selling, then you want to go ahead and select the core, and then again with the rope, and then you're gonna wait for the rope to be built. So you just basically, you can just spam left click this, because you want to build it the second your core is slightly under here, and then the rope will connect. And then after you've done that, you deselect from the core and everything else. You go ahead and go over here to this side of the base. You go to whichever left-ish node you have, connect up here, and wait for the core to come up. So what does that look like? You sell this, get this, select this node, go here, and then you go here, just like that. So that's how it should look like. Does that look hard? Yes. Is it hard? It is, yeah, hard. So, but why do you need to do it? Because I know coursing sounds scary, but you know, it's one of those things where, again, if you're playing ranked, you want to be a good player, right? You need to excel professionally, so you're gonna have to learn these strategies eventually. Top level, there's no chance you don't win. If you don't do it for a coursing, you win. Why? First of all, there's the main meta on this map is missiles, and by meta I mean the only playable strategy. So it's gonna be missiles and sometimes lasers, but just mainly missiles, because you can get an egregious amount of nukes from various angles. But the 2 most common nuke spots are one up here and one below here. First of all, you're obviously protected from any nuke angles over here, but also, if there's any missiles down here, it'll just immediately hit this ball. This ball is the perfect path, the trajectory that stops it from hitting the ball. So, you know, we just, that just also makes the game take longer. So missiles can't kill you, and just about nothing can kill you. The way you extra defend over here, you just build these good boxes over here. Something looking like this, and then you'll be fine. That's how, if you want to defend your core more. You obviously don't need to once you immediately core swing, because they don't have heavy weapons. And also, sometimes if they go for some sneaky magnet trick, well, you just go for this. You know what I'm saying? Pretty simple over here. We also haven't covered something like this. I haven't covered the fact that I haven't connected back here. You don't want to connect straight down here. Often you will die. First of all, you want to wait for your core to kind of stabilize, or at least you want to drag it to connect. So which this means you select the center of the strut and you drag it, something looking like this. However, sometimes you can't connect it, or like in this case, this is not a safe way to connect it. Our core is stable enough to the point where we can just connect it normally like this. However, if your core is not stable, because you have the shotgun out barrel, you are in no rush to immediately connect it. So yeah, so in this case, I waited long enough for my yapping that I can just straight up connect, and I should be fine. But if it does rotate more than 30 degrees angle, then that'll be an issue. There we go, secured it enough, and we can disconnect from over here. And that's what your core defenses look like. So now, immediately after you swung your core, I want to go ahead and cover what to do immediately next. So buzzsaws are a huge equation in this here. Even though you can connect to disconnected structures, while you're building down, for example, you still can be buzzsawed. This is why I recommend after that, you immediately go building down. This way you're not susceptible to your buzzsaw. You don't have to do this already, by the way I'm like building in between the struts here. This is just because you're not supposed to defend this early anyways. It's just kind of a waste of like time or whatever, or actually it's a waste of money immediately. So anyways, you go ahead and immediately expand down. Assuming you don't have this big chunk of wood. Usually 1 piece of wood is enough, because you don't want to defend prematurely. You're just being too nervous. I'm using these short, long struts to connect down, and dragging it is the most, I don't know about the most efficient, but at least the fastest way to connect down. And you're not keeping this long term, because it's not realistic to keep this long term, because the buzzsaw on the top and the bottom will make it just kind of collapse all the way down, as well as just not main point. The entire philosophy of connecting down is to go ahead and get this shotgun out barrel in this position over here. So the safest place for the shotgun out barrel is close to this ball, a little bit under the halfway point. This way it can be shot below by missiles, but mainly it can't be shot from above missiles. The shotgun out barrel is truly invincible, so you'll always have connection to here. And then the general philosophy in forts is that you want to place mines, then you want to place tech, and then you want to do everything else. So you go ahead and place mines, and then maybe I would go ahead and get tech now. How I wanna expand this a 108, not 9 energy. And you do something like this. It doesn't have to be super precise if you don't know how to do it perfectly. You can just kind of drag boxes and then, you know, I guess you know, you can probably still drag blocks and still be fine. It's just that I played this map a couple of thousand hours, or a couple hundred hours, so I just have this very specialized build. You go ahead and get tech, and you go ahead and get the rest of your mines. And after that, now while the tech's building, I have more stuff to yap about. Another thing is stability tech on this map. What does it look like? First of all, once you've coursing your core, it's not like it's supporting much besides maybe wood spam, so it's not that crucial, but it is really easy to do. You find this node, right, and then you sell this. This node, you sell this. You overlap with this, you sell this. This node, already done the thing over here. And then here you go like this and this. This is all covered in the Viper stability tech tutorial. It just generally helps you build wood spam easier, and also you save on 2 foundation nodes, which is some extra money for you to salvage, and that's always nice. And obviously the easiest way to defend forward is just doing some wood spam like this. You don't have a core to protect anymore, but you do have all these mines that you want to defend. Obviously you can maybe only defend here, but you know, it's just easier because this stops any of the splash damage from wrecking you. And I now want to talk about how we expand to top connection. The top connection is very different from the bottom expansion in the sense that it's much easier to connect to, or it's a lot shorter. So which means I'm just gonna go connect up here, but you realize I'm using wide boxes this time. You can use thinner boxes if you want. I'm not gonna stop you. And I'm just kind of like securing it a lot more like carefully here, because this top connection, because it's so much shorter, it's like half the length, which means that when it gets buzzed out at the bottom, the top will hold it together, and when it gets buzzed out at the top, the bottom will hold it together. And if it gets buzzed out in the perfect place both times, then you could just do this and you can keep the expansion. Obviously you don't need to keep this long rope here, but it is better to have some more surface area to build flak and whatnot. Like for example, you can have these trench flak or something looking like this, and some snipers or some miniguns in here. That's why I keep this expansion, and again, because it's so much shorter, it's going to be so much more realistic to hold this expansion. So now we talk about where do you place the barrel here. Again, the barrel here is a little bit less important because it's actually realistic to hold on to instead of, you know, this bottom expansion over here, which we eventually intend for this to be destroyed, or we can just delete it ourselves. It doesn't really matter. Now we go ahead and place this barrel down here. Again, a little bit over the halfway point is good enough, because missiles will come from above here and will come from below here. These are all 2 very realistic missile paths to come against. And now I want to talk about missiles. So the only strategy on this map is going to be missiles, and now at this point you should place missiles, maybe even before you expand up here, and maybe before you get any flak. So if you get bottom missiles or top missiles, I'm not going to go too intricate into this because it has already been 12 minutes, but top missiles, generally speaking, do more damage. However, you will have once you connect it down here before, you will have to, like, getting bottom missiles will be more convenient because you already have this bottom expansion, but essentially speaking, both works. If you want to go for top, it's fine. If you want to go for bottom, it's fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and demonstrate bottom here. Sometimes you can't place missiles directly like this. You can just kind of go this, and then you can keep placing missiles as such. Right, you can get 5, I think technically 6 missile slots if you try hard enough. You can build out all the way to the left, but generally speaking, like 4 or 5 down here is fine enough. And then you want to build 3 down here, which is going to be really strong. It's going to have some great paths. And there's so much I can talk about on this map. I could spend literally all day, and I probably already have spent all day talking about the different stuff on this map. But I want to say that there's infinite trench flak angles. I'm going to go ahead and showcase how you want to defend against bottom mines. These mines over here, these front 2 mines are susceptible for missiles down here, but all 4 of these mines are susceptible for missiles up here. So how I want to defend this is, once again, I talked about the best way to expand on here. Something looking like this. And after that, because this map is so large, and because you have like 5 times the resources of 13 mines max out of the usual 6 mines max, you're gonna be a lot more like strained for time, which means you're just gonna generally build out something looking like this. And make sure you build above from a lot too, because the missiles will come at really steep angles. Like, it's gonna go up here, it's gonna go up, and it's gonna come down like this. So that's gonna come from really steep angles. You gotta expect for that. And for the bottom missiles here, if you want to defend it, you don't usually, well, actually I don't know if you don't usually, but I guess these don't come under fire as much as some of the other stuff in your base. So that's why I'm not like super talking about this. And then obviously you can do this if you want more surface area to build flak and whatnot. There's no point in building rockets and anything else. And I'm gonna go ahead and talk about fire beams. So obviously there's an infinite French. What the? Did I just say French? Goodness me. Okay. Obviously there's a lot of flag positions on this map, and obviously there's different sniper positions, so technically all the trench flag you can probably get away with sniping, but nobody's good enough for that, right? I think sniping flag is obviously a good idea if you have the spare APM to do it. Getting rid of flag is always a good idea if you have the spare APM to it, but at some point you're going to run into the roadblock where you're not just pushing enough with your missiles to make it through. And so this is when you want to use fire beam. So you want to, generally speaking, you want to have, because of these missile positions, the one down here, one up there, you want to go ahead and have, you want to go ahead and get one fire beam up top and one fire beam down below, or maybe multiple fire beams, because technically they will be sniped, but the chance they actually like purposely like have between all of this to snipe up here is not super likely. I'll show you the idea in a second, but the missiles come down here, and then a fire beam here would block all of the entire over here from hitting the missiles, and same philosophy for the one up top. So this expansion is going to hit low really easily, while this expansion is going to hit high really easily. It's almost like guaranteed that they will hit. Make sure you upgrade to like, I don't know, like 3 nukes. Something looking like this is a nuke setup, good nuke setup. Even if you have perfect fire beam defense, a couple missiles to take the blunt is a good idea. And we're just going to go ahead and, for example, if we want to target this ball over here, we paint like this, and then we go and do this fire beam angle down here. See how that works? And all of flag will immediately die to fire beam. And same philosophy for up here. See, I'm targeting those turbines. That fire beam's not built. Cut that out. I'm not cutting that out. That's gonna be a lot of editing work. I'm not dealing with that. I did neuter team tube, so good luck with that. With Shotgun 2, I forgot to mention that the fire beams with the active does turn into plasma beams, so if you do want to like get other weapons besides lasers, like I don't know, for follow-ups, you do want to go ahead and build some fire beams. You press the active, it becomes plasma. So building extra fire beams is fine. Don't build tiny doors. Don't build proper doors for the fire beams. Please don't do that. It's not worth the time, and also like nobody has the spare APM for this, for like doing all of this action. And also I want to cover, usually I don't expand to this ball, it becomes a huge target. Notice how I mentioned this ball was a perfect block for these bottom missiles down here? Well, if you build on this ball, it becomes a perfect target for, all their missiles. So this is why I usually don't expand to this ball, though you can if you want to. And this top ball is just not worth the time, just being honest. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is make sure you actually protect your silos. It's really easy to get sniped. The hitboxes for these are giant, and if you do lose a silo, that's massive. Especially these top silos, any sniper down here will be easily able to snipe them. And if they start sniping you before you start defending, then you will lose a silo, and that's going to be so much metal cost, and also that's going to set you back so much. I want to also talk about energy production, because you do need like copious amount of energy, where like even look, you can have literally 20 turbines and it'll be not enough because you're firing so many nukes and so many fire beams, and you're just dealing with so much stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and do, this is generally speaking the widest turbine row should do. Obviously 5 turbine rows wide before the end started losing efficiency, kind of like this. You can also do turbines up here. This is another sufficient turbine spot looking like this. And obviously this can be shot at, but wherever they paint their nukes, you'll always want to build out. Like if they paint a nuke at you, you just start building out like crazy. The nuke will explode here, and the splash damage pretty much won't do anything. Why? Yeah, you might ask why you get flak then. Well, they might individually fire the nukes, or you just don't have enough time to make sure you block everything while you're managing everything else in the base. So yeah, this is a really tough map to deal with, and it's the most intimidating for new players. But you know what the good news is? Your opponents are intimidated too, and now you generally know what the meta is from pro player. Or actually, that sounds weird. I mean, it's correct. I played this game enough to call myself that, but now that you know how to play this map, hopefully your opponents will be baffled enough for you to achieve some wins. All right, let's go ahead, and I want to go ahead and blast this guy. This is going to be a game against Junyu over here. Junyu is one of the top Chinese players and top 20 players of this game, probably. Extremely good Chinese player. I said that already. But you get the point. I don't think Junyu's playing super meta right now, but yeah, I'm just going to quickly showcase what your typical build order looks like. It looks something like this. I did get workshop here early. I was actually going to record this and record actually playing this live in the video, but I messed up my build order slightly. I got too pissed and I decided to not do that. I do the core swing. Don't worry about this janky little core swing setup. It's because I'm bad at the game. I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. I got a buzz trap because I got early workshop, so why not? You go ahead and expand down and get mines, for example. And you go ahead and build some structure looking like this. Drenyu also builds down as well. And then you start blasting with the missiles and whatnot. Missiles down here. You go ahead and expand up. You can start getting some missiles up here. You got an upgrade center, so you can start upgrading the missiles down here. You have an upgrades, you know, you defend your missiles, make sure everything's defended. You got a couple buzzsaws. This is a very good structure for what a base should look like, by the way. You have this good bridge up here, and then you have like good wide wood spam up here. I will say this is a little bit susceptible if they have missiles up top. You want to build basically over your mines because of the angle the missiles is coming at. But in this case, you know, they don't have, you're kind of evaluating what your opponent has. I'm just continuing to blast them over here. I understand that he has some flak over here, which is why targeting this bottom ball is good. Generally speaking, what you want to choose between what you're going to target is because you're going to, one, evaluate what they have on here, like what happens when you shoot them, and two, how much anti-air they have at a certain spot. If you're going for missiles at the very bottom and they shoot up top, then the flak is going to have like a field day shooting it, right? And you also can't fire beam protect it decently because once your missiles is over here, there's no fire beam angle that actually covers all the angles of the flak. While if your missiles is going down here, a fire beam would perfectly cover this diagonal and thus all the flak over here. So for example, shooting this direct ball is always going to land more times than not. But for example, if they just have this bottom ball like script clean like it's right now, I can get like a few mines here. Maybe I can kill a silo here. That's not going to do that much damage. It's just generally speaking not that as much. But if they have like a lot of, I don't know, wealth over here, like a lot of, I don't know, generally speaking wood, especially heavy weapons, then you want to go ahead and target the heavy weapons if possible. If they have heavy weapons anymore, you want, that's going to be a massive goal for you to target them down here. I still continue to target down here because I believe he has flak here, and the fog of war you really can't see exactly what A they have. I just know they have trench flak here. So I guess in this case, firing up would also be nice. Yeah, I do. Again, you can only really get like one silo down here and not too much. The reason why I don't immediately target up here is because notice once again, once you have this bottom silo here, it has a very blocked angle to anywhere up here. If I fire down here, if you draw the straight line up, something looking like this, I can't really fire it anywhere here. If I go here, the nuke sort of sometimes will hit this edge over here, and that's why a lot of times it's a little bit less worth it because this ball just blocks anything from shooting here. If he does expand up, I can probably shoot that as well, but you can see I expand up down here. I got some buzzsaws to be annoying, and I get a different variety of weapons. This game sounds relatively quick because Drenyu does not go for a core swing, and this is really why core swings are just so much so OP here, because Drenyu has 3 fire beams, but he can't do anything with the fire beams. He can't, because, well, I mean, my core's here, so Drenyu's just gonna have a bad day, and I'm gonna make sure Drenyu has a bad day. I continue targeting down there, and you just, you know, want to go ahead and buzzsaw somewhere and nuke somewhere. Here, you see this is demonstrating the new upchange where they made the silos explode a lot more violently. I use a lot more shields here. Shields are fine if you want to put them really far on the inner side. The reason why shields are a little bit iffy on this map is because the presence of silos and nukes. They're literally the perfect thing to take out shields just because they have pretty low HP. They're all really susceptible to swarm missiles overall, so you, against nukes or anything, you really don't want to put shields. However, in this case, Drenyu really isn't likely to shoot up here with the nukes or land any hits up here with the nukes. I can put them really on, and if you do want to put shields, which I don't recommend too much, by the way, for example, if I were to put shields, I would put one on the very inside here, so even after the nuke lands, the shield likely lives. But if against a lot of penetration with enemy fire being shotgun, then you can start putting shields of different materials on the inside. What I will say is you should pretty much never build metal, because you can just keep wood spamming out. There's no reason to do that. Yeah, and Drenyu dies, and this is why you got to do the core swing, because if you don't, that's bad. Again, if you want a fire beam cover, you do one fire beam here, you shoot that up. You want one fire beam here and shoot that down. You can get turbines up here. You can get flak up here. You can get flak in here. You can get flak here. You can get flak trenched here. You can get flak down here. You can get flak trenched here. You can get flak literally everywhere. You can get flak over here, trench that up. We can just get flak straight forward. You can get flak up here. You can get flak and gunners everywhere. That's it. Yeah. I'm too tired to find good replays because new update. This is another match against Drenyu I played. This demonstrates the sneaky build order. Sneaky. I'm shotgun scatter shot here, which they made it shoot through rockets. It's not as good as Buster, but it's quite funny. Now, in 2v2s, it's quite good. Because one person can go for rockets that do a lot more damage, and one person can go for buzzsaws that do a lot more damage. I'm so tired of talking, and I'm talking so fast now that I realize, but I'm sure you guys can just watch it on less speed and give me more attention. This is Drenyu, and this is a top player, by the way. So Drenyu was not prepared against the rockets because it is very sneaky. I mean, you look at this on the outside, you don't know what it is. It's just nothing like too protruding out of it. And then you go for the rockets and then just keep blasting them. And actually, and then essentially what you want to do is you want to build a tactical monger to dissipate your opponent's will to live. As you can see, the monger was the only thing that caused me to win the game here. So he was, yeah, he lost his dignity in this fort. Yeah, that's pretty effective. So here we're going to start off with Buster. There's a lot of different strategies on Stalactites.work, so I really can't cover everything, but I will show the one that probably is the easiest to play at low level and wins the most game, especially with the new balance changes that has come out, nerfing lasers, which was originally really strong on this map. And so we're going to go ahead and Buster, essentially, you're trying to go rockets because Buster is by far the strongest rocket commander. It makes rockets do way too much damage, and the shrapnel basically acts as their own shotgun. So once you spawn in, you want to get one mine, one turbine, and you're going to go ahead and move on and get a back turbine looking like this. You'll convert all of this to background bracing, and I will recommend selling a couple nodes. As Buster, you have free foundation nodes, and which means you won't get any metal back from selling that, but it's still okay. The entire point is that you're just not too obvious that you're Buster. You're gonna go ahead and get a couple more mines as usual. You're gonna sell this metal and you're gonna do a lot of other stuff. I will say when you're playing this strategy, you're a lot less concerned about buzzsaws because once you have rockets pelting their entire base, it's really hard for them to get a buzzsaw up. And if they do, it'll probably just hit a rocket instead. I'm gonna showcase the extra sneaky version. There's the more exposed version, which looks something like this. There's different ways to do rockets. This is the more exposed version where you put rockets in here, which does fit rockets mildly more efficiently, but it makes it really obvious that you have rockets. I think at the most competitive levels, maybe this is, I guess, a bit better, but I think even then, even at competitive levels, people often, including me, actually, mostly me, do rockets at inside the base just because it's so sneaky. So you're gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna go and I can go ahead and sell this. You can probably build in other ways too. The entire point is you kind of want to cover this flag text so they can't obviously see it. They can kind of guess, but they don't know. And then I would sell this metal storage. I would sell this piece of metal. I would also mention to sell this stuff too, and maybe even this. And now I will get upgrade center. I'm going to go ahead and get two more turbines. So you bring up to a total of 4 turbines now. And now we're going to go ahead and maybe build down here as well. This is all while your tech should be building, by the way, after you get your upgrade center. And get a sniper and 3 EMPs. The reason why I'm not going for shotgun in this build order is because rockets just do so much more, like an extra rocket just does exponentially more damage. And also, once you have Buster, this is specific commander, the shrapnel does often is good enough for anti-air, and it's even better if you can accurately snipe. So we're going to upgrade everything here, including even the sniper, because the biggest threat to rockets usually, including Buster rockets, is an enemy AP sniper or enemy sniping, because you do plan to leave your rockets exposed. Putting doors on your rockets are often very expensive, so if you can have a sniper, this can take out stuff like AP sniper and stuff. If you have, for example, a normal sniper, you can obviously door snipe them, but it's a little bit too hard to door snipe usually, at least for me, because I suck at sniping. Once you have upgraded a couple things, you can start blasting rockets at them. Very simple. Do keep in mind that rockets take a lot of energy to upkeep. So if you want to keep expanding turbines, you can just keep doing like this and whatnot if you're running out of energy. So rockets are actually not a low skill weapon. Rockets are actually fairly difficult to play because you have to maintain map control while keep expanding, constantly expanding with rockets, respond to their threat like buzzsaws. Against buzzsaws, you can get doors. I'm going to show you how rocket source might look on here. So something looking like this is how rocket doors would look. If you do care about rocket doors, you can still get pretty good angle here. And if they do have AP sniper, you can do something looking like this. However, I do recommend, especially when you're Buster, the shrapnel is going to be pelting their base so often that it's going to be very difficult for them to actually mount any sort of counter resistance. So maybe you don't need to do that. And if you want to keep on expanding, you can just keep doing something looking like this. And here, you can also go ahead and get Smoke. Notably, Smoke got a massive buff with this update. I want to say that this update just generally buffed Buster Rockets so much. It was already one of the best strategies on Stalactites, so this is just extremely good. Please ignore that Discord ping over there. Yeah, and then you can go ahead and get a shotgun. So I want to note that I guess the shotgun below might be a little bit better than the shotgun above. Not that it makes a huge difference because you can do undershots on their gunners more often. Well, I think that just broke straight through, but you get the point. There's a gunner down there, and there's a piece of wood down there. If I can demonstrate. I missed. I'm getting bad energy. you can undershot it quite often. So you see I didn't break it through the wood. So generally speaking, yeah, it's going to be overall easier to play. And you can also occasionally move on to buzzsaws if your weapons aren't going for. If they have a very big bottom trench, you can continue to buzzsaws. But generally speaking, once you have the Buster active, you're going to be doing so much damage that it really doesn't matter too much. And for the question of how do you actually counter these Buster rockets, is first of all, you have to recognize that your enemy has rockets, and thus accurately and so first of all, there would be, you hear upgrade sounds that you don't recognize. I really want to emphasize this, how important is hearing upgrade sounds. And it's the most simple sound cue in all of Forts, and it's also probably the most impactful sound cue to understand. When you hear upgrade sounds, what can that imply? That can imply AP Sniper, Minigun, upgraded Mortar, that can imply Nuke, that can imply a lot of these. Heavy weapons don't upgrade. So, when they're going up for upgrade sounds, what are they going for? Either they're going for upgraded eco, either upgraded mines or upgraded turbines, or they're going for something suspicious that requires wood spam early on. So when you hear upgrade sounds, you gotta sort of look at their base. If I hear a bunch of upgrade sounds from Plan B here, I would look at their base. Does Plan B have any turbines? No, does they have any turbines? Or maybe their turbines are covered. And if I hear 3 upgrade sounds, and I don't see any mines upgraded, I don't see any turbines upgraded, then it's sus. If I hear 3 upgrade sounds, I don't know if it's turbines or whatever else. It could be turbines, but it's kind of unlikely because upgrading turbines is just an iffy idea. It's probably something sus. So against that, you want to quickly just build a piece layer of wood, something looking like this, if you think your opponent's doing something sus. But if your opponent's going for upgraded mines, that's actually more of a good sign, because, well, upgraded mines means that they have a slower build order, and thus you can get away with more stuff. Remember, this Buster Rockets build heavily relies on them not getting a heavy weapon. If they get a heavy weapon out, you're kind of cooked. But I will say, like, 9 out of 10 times, you just kind of straight up win with this Buster Rocket strategy. So this is the strategy I'm going to recommend for this map. Moving on to Battlegrounds now. My beloved Battlegrounds. So I'm going to teach you something that's really, really strong on this map. And it's called the Pinch Fist Triple Swarm. So on this map, I would say 2 strategies dominate on this map. Actually, I don't know if it's 2. I think it's Pinch Fist Triple Swarm and non-Pinch Fist Triple Swarm. That's what I'm going to categorize it as. I really like Pinch Fist on this map. First of all, what do you play on this map? It's always going to be an Eco Commander, just because the prevalence of Pinch Fist Triple Swarm and any early aggro strategies from revolving around Pinch Fist. But first of all, I'm going to discuss why Pinch Fist is so strong. Pinch Fist is going to be strong on maps where you can sell a lot of metal. On Stalactites, you can sell quite a bit of metal. That's why it's so strong. On this map, you can sell every single piece of metal on your base. Why is that? It's because on this map, when you have a hanging map sort of like this, you want to chop your core off. You chop below it and it stays above top here. There's really no way to chop your core off sufficiently, at least usually, unless they hit some insane buzzsaw shots on this core strut and this core strut, breaking it. But even then, you can just place a couple sandbags. So my point is that buzzsaws aren't really a huge threat, unless you can get away with selling a lot more metal on this map. As well, there's a lot of foundation nodes to sell here. Another thing is the ability to do triple swarm. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly cover the build order here. There's a lot of different build orders that might work. I'm just going to cover, I guess, the one I prefer the most. I play this all the time and it works so much. I've also made videos on it before. So once you hop into the game, you go ahead and get turbine, 3 turbines. You get mine, and if you're ever at any point you have enough energy to do something but you don't have enough metal, just sell a piece of metal here. Or you can just do as much as you want without actually, without actually floating metal. So once you got 4 mines here, I would get workshop, and I would get another mine here, and then I would sell this, fill this and this. It just saves a little bit of metal and also doesn't harm disability at all. Just trust me on this. I know what I'm talking about. You go ahead and build back full length here. I would cover this like this because as of the recent update, they made the swarms a lot more combustive. That's not the word. Reptile, Plan B, help me out here.
Combustive.
Is it actually combustive?
Yep.
Okay, well, whatever. It explodes a lot more violently, and having your swarms be sniped is a massive threat. So the swarm hitbox is actually pretty massive, so you want to watch out for that. It's quite susceptible to snipers normally. So now, while your workshop is building, I don't have slow build on, so you can't demonstrate normally. Can you stop doing that, Plan B? You're killing me. Yeah. So while your tech is around like 75% done, so somewhere looking like 75% done, you go ahead and sell this mine here. And while that mine is selling, before your mine fully sells, I'm gonna try to demonstrate here. Sell here, and then you go ahead and place your first swarm, and then so here's the order. You're gonna start selling the mine. All right, before the mine's fully sold, this thing is gonna finish. And you're gonna place this silo, and then the mine's gonna come be fully sold, and then you're gonna place 2 more swarm missiles down here. This way you don't actually float. Just make sure the entire point is at this sequence you can get triple swarm as early as possible without actually floating. After that, with this build order, this is the fastest early upgrade center build order, which means you can upgrade to nukes ASAP, which is going to be you can sell this metal storage. You can sell this actually. You can actually even sell this. And you can get a metal sword, just get an upgrade center like this. And the reason why this strategy is so strong, because usually on most maps, you sacrifice 1 mine for 1 swarm. On this map, you sacrifice 1 mine for 3 swarms. And that's the main reason why it's so strong. Additionally, there's also other reasons, like there's no back turbines on this map. And, you know, swarms are massively loves attacking back turbines. So after that, I would go ahead and get 2 buzzsaws. Buzzsaws just work so well with swarms overall. They did buff the damage that swarms do recently, but they did also make the they did also make it cost from 1800 energy to 2100 energy, if I remember correctly from the update notes. Overall, I think this is more of a swarm buff, considering they've made the swarm building time from 70 seconds to 60 seconds. So I think the strategy is probably even stronger after this new update too. But because of the slight energy nerfs, I would say you probably need another turbine here. Remember, everything on your base here is going to be super expensive, so you want to do as little building as possible. And this applies for really when you're going for any brushy strategy or any sort of early aggro strategy. You want to be careful with metal wares you're selling. Even dragging like this is 40 metal. That's a lot of metal to do. When instead you could be getting like another turbine, for example. Heck, I would even do a door sometimes if they don't have an enemy sniper. This is how true you're gonna be. I would really rarely put doors on your buzzsaws just because of how much map control you have with the swarms. Like for example, I'm gonna paint them here. And I'm gonna try to follow up with buzzsaws to where I paint, but he does have doors on them. But usually it's not realistic for them to have doors on that at all. But you see, even when they have a wall of gunners, it's not that helpful. And here you can really decide what to do. I recommend after you fire 1 volley, that's when your upgrade center is going to be completed. So you're gonna upgrade 2 of the nukes like such. And while your nukes are upgrading, this is the period of time where they're gonna kind of get their grace. You can even or you can also delay upgrading if you're doing significant damage with the buzzsaws. For example, if you just aim straight through their core, hit 2 buzzsaws, they don't have proper sandbags or metal. They should never have metal at this point, by the way. Then they're kind of cooked. They usually lose the game. I've beaten Ethan, Tar, and other pro players while I was really bad at the game with this, so you can definitely pull off some insane upsets with buzzsaw cheeses. But after that, for example, Plan B, someone goes for a lot of gunners, which is not actually a good idea because I'm going to demonstrate why. There's a lot of dynamic gameplay you can do according to your opponent. Like for example, I see a lot of gunners here. That means it's time for this. Okay, that wiped out everything. I probably should have done more delay in between, but you can see how effective that was. And for example, Plan B has a Plan B has a flak up top, which means I'm gonna get an AP sniper to snipe out that flak like such. And you kind of sort of react to what your opponent does here. Generally speaking, your core is not a huge threat and whatnot. And because of your pinch fist, your build order is usually so fast, or it becomes just really unrealistic for your it just becomes really unrealistic for your opponents to get heavy weapons at any reasonable rate. So I would not worry about that at all. After that, once you don't really get significant damage anymore, I would go ahead and get laser tech. Just once, I don't know, something's not working anymore, if you just have extra metal, you would get laser tech eventually. And then you would also maybe keep expanding. You can upgrade your mines too. You can get more turbines. You can upgrade your mines when you feel like you have excess energy. If you get more turbines, you can get more buzzsaws. More buzzsaws is always fun, especially if they try to expand down or expand up. And there's just really a lot more dynamic gameplay here. Plan, we got something to say?
I was gonna say, on top of the unrealistic wall of gunners, are also hurricane gunners.
Yes, so yeah,
the gunner wall worst case scenario.
The gunner wall is actually not a really good idea against this. So usually by this, your opponent, assuming you're competent opponents, if you have incompetent opponents, we don't really need to talk about that because the point is you're playing against good players, right? If you're playing against bad players, you don't really need a strategy if we're gonna use that mindset. But you do actually, once you have 2 nukes, you need like a ridiculous amount of energy, even with pinch fist, to sustain all of this, especially if you're gonna be constant buzzsawing them, and you should constantly buzzsaw them and make them unhappy. You want them to have the worst day possible. So how you want to defend yourself is, first of all, your opponent should really, ideally you keep your opponents from getting heavy weapons at all. If they do get heavy weapons, then you should you should really conserve on trying to end the game as fast as possible if they do get their hands on that. And I would just make sure you don't get one shot by one heavy weapon. But if they get multiple heavy weapons, it becomes unrealistic for you to really defend against that too much. But yeah, this is how I would defend against heavy weapons, for example, on this base. But again, the ideal is that you shouldn't. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get fire beams. Generally speaking, fire beams here are the best. And you can also even build down on a little triangle like this to make your missiles go lower. This is called the Nutella Fish Battle Special. Don't make this triangle too long, so it will arc under and thus have a better fire beam protection angle because of the way angles work. They did. I will note that I think every single change they've done recently buffs this strategy, except one thing, which is that they nerf fire beams significantly by making the gunners go through a lot more, 50% more fire beam duration. So what that means is that this fire beam will not completely cover it, especially if they have gunners close to where the fire beam hits. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly fire beam cover here. And you can see how effective this fire beam cover is into really annihilating your opponent's base here. Eventually, you can keep getting fire beams. You can also get plasmas eventually too. There's something looking like this. I will forgot to mention that at the start of the game, you can't target their core. You can target anywhere below. As long as you have buzzsaw, you can buzzsaw target anywhere. But if you don't have buzzsaws active, or what's always a good shot is to target those turbines up here, because these turbines are consistently always the best target for swarms. So, but at this stage of the point where you don't only have turbine, doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, you just kind of do this, and then you kind of do this. And then you win the game. After you can do plasma follow-ups too. This is a really oppressive strategy and one of the hardest to play against. So if you want to play this map, I promise, just get good at playing this strategy. It's really easy to play, and it's way too good. So boys, it's your boy Infinity Power, and we're back with another Buster Rockets tutorial because it's broken. So when you start on split, I want to first notice some things. The core's close to the ground. There's a starting silo here. That's probably the biggest difference. And you're really, really, really close to each other. So what does that mean? So that means when you start the game, you have an option to either fire the silo or sell the silo. Or I don't recommend going nuke strategies on this map. There's like 1,332 different ways you could die from using this nuke on this map, because if it gets damaged while it's launching, say with a pre-fired gunner or pre-fired flak, which is really easy to do at high levels, by the way, it goes down and kills your core. But we don't talk about that right now. I don't recommend going missiles on this map. It sucks. But as I was saying, you can, once you connect back, you realize you have a silo down here, and you have the option of firing it or not firing. As I said before, if you follow the Infinity Power tutorials from the Battlegrounds, you will realize that turbines are the best target for swarms. And on this map, for example, if they have turbines up here, this is a great target for swarms. So Plan B, can you shoot at me real quick? Shoot my turbines? You sold the missile. I hate you. No, it's fine. So if they have turbines up here, you can have an option of painting your swarms at them and getting a sniper, essentially. And obviously, they do have time to react and do something like this. But even when I will say though, if your opponent does this to you, this is actually usually not enough. If they paint high enough at the turbine, this is actually not enough, because swarm will arc over it, and even one swarm will kill a turbine now after the damage buffs from the swarms. So you need a turbine and a sandbag if you want to protect that. And also you have this wall of metal here. You notice because your core is close to the ground, there's 2 grids between the core and the ground. That means there's 2 grids of metal we really got to defend here. And really, if you include the bind spot, there's like 1 grid of buzzsaw where you can really get killed here. The rest, they won't really do anything. What this means is that you can get away with selling a lot more metal, which is why pinch fist is also decent on this map. So you're a lot less susceptible to buzzsaws overall. Yeah, if you want to protect yourself against buzzsaws, you just do something like this. So this is why buzzsaws aren't that strong on this map. And the other one, and the reason why I'm showing Buster Rockets today is because Buster Rockets is just obscenely strong. So I'm gonna assume we just started off the game here, right? We're gonna go ahead and get 1 turbine. We're gonna go back and we're gonna sell this silo over here. We're gonna look at 1 turbine, 1 mine, go back, sell this silo, get another mine, get another mine, get another mine. We get full eco. Now we go ahead and get the flak tech. This is another one of those sneaky Buster Rocket strategies. You can do them orderly in the front, but on this map, even the pros don't do orderly rockets in the front. On this map, there are two metals. there's two strategies that are much stronger than anything else. It's the Buster Rockets and the Hurricane mortars. Hurricane mortars are much harder to play, although I will say they're pretty good this update. I'm just showing Buster Rockets because I think at lower levels, at anywhere that's not the most competitive levels, this is going to win 100% of the games that if you do it well. And it's 1,000 times sneakier, and it's almost just as good on the competitive level. We're gonna go ahead and get Flak Tech here, and then at this point I would get one turbine here. Actually, you can get turbines back here however you want. Remember, you do have free foundation nodes, so that's amazing. And then you could go ahead and get an upgrade center right here. I would convert some stuff to background bracing because why not? And now you have one turbine, one Flak Tech, one turbine, one upgrade center. And then now with here, I believe I can get two turbines maybe, or maybe I think two turbines or maybe one. I think two turbines is better. And now you can build forward like this. And now you can put an EMP here, here, and here. So those are the 3 EMP spots. Once again, on this map, you don't need shotguns even more because your bases are so close to each other. The Buster Rocket Shrapnel usually just does the job of the shotgun itself. And as I said before, the biggest threat to Buster Rockets, or rockets in general, is AP snipers and snipers, especially if you're doing, if you don't door them well. Which is why I would also recommend getting a sniper and using it to snipe anti-air as well as just denying their sniper. And I do also, again, recommend an AP sniper, just because it's not realistic for them to double door anything, especially if they're getting shot at rockets. That's just way too expensive, and you don't need to door snipe anymore. You can just shoot it once and then their rockets will be dead. Well, their stuff will be dead. And Buster Rockets look something looking like this. And you see the shrapnel, right? I mean, it's just the shrapnel does so much. Shrapnel, can you do something? Okay, those are Hurricane Gunners. So as I said before, Hurricane's the other meta on here. Hurricane Mortars, if you get to the really pro levels, you'll see a lot more often. Hurricane, it is a semi-counter to Buster Rockets, which is what's keeping the strategy in check, because the Gunners are much stronger. But it should be fine otherwise. Against this, I mean, I would just AP snipe with some of those gunners or some other stuff. But just get some other gunners like this. And additionally, it's the same idea as I said so in Stalactites. You want to keep expanding turbine row like this. You can do big boxes. It doesn't even matter. Like if you're doing rockets, it shouldn't matter too much. You can get buzzsaws. You can get a smoke, which I do recommend getting a smoke. And you should eventually also get a shotgun to clear out entire as well. But that's the essential idea of Buster Rockets. It's a really strong strategy if used right. And it's impossibly difficult to deal with. Oh, plus there's only 5 mines on this map, so that's even rougher to deal with. Crevice, my beloved. So this is a map that it's really funny. First of all, you want to notice how unique your base looks. Though I do think the easiest way to think about how your base is you want to treat it like it's the Stalactites base. But also, let's think about the notable features of this map. There's a bottom expansion, your base looks weird, and there's this front barrel here. So what this front barrel represents is, once again, you can sell off your metal. Yay! Every single time you see a pro gameplay on this map, everybody not immediately, you shouldn't immediately sell your metal because you'll float, but everybody always sells all of their metal just because you're pretty much immune from buzzsaws, except a few caveats, which I will show here. And that's generally my favorite thing about this map, because there's 100% win rate buzzsaw strategy. And the reason why I'm playing Pinch Fist is because I can sell all my metal. So one benefit of Pinch Fist is you can get really fast timings with weapons. The only reason why Pinch Fist isn't like the super OP on this map is because fast timings on weapons don't really matter too much, because you have this massive line of because your first strike, whoever's first strike will immediately get soaked up by this, though you can use a single incendiary mortar to burn this entire structure down. But also, once you have this here, which is indestructible, if they place their weapons earlier here and you don't want direct confrontation, you can say place your weapons here and they can't directly shoot each other and stuff like that. So that's why Pinch Fist is a little bit more in check. So now Plan B's gonna Plan B's kind of got the idea here. It's called the double buzzsaw, and it's quite cheeky. So I'm just gonna demonstrate Pinch Fist here. Really, literally any. No, stop it. Any commander really works here, as I was saying. Just because this map, you're not really rushed on timings. Overdrive is great. Pinch Fist is great. You can go Spook. You can even go Warthog if you want. There's a lot of different options. But I would, once you start off on the game here. I don't even remember how your base looks. It's like something like this, isn't it? Something of sorts. You would go ahead and sell your front part. Actually, no. You get one turbine, you get one mine, you build here, and this is how you do back turbine setup. Sorry, it's a little bit more complicated, but you want to go here. You want to drag basically full length here, not all the way down, not all the way up. You see that mine over here? Try to get it a little bit above the mines, looking like this, not too slanted. Something looking like this is fine. As this way, when you build out a foreground basing, you can still build like horizontally like such. And now you want to do one short here and one as close to this wall here. All flat. Now you want to place this turbine here. Note that don't place it too close to the wall. It might explode sometimes. So placing it something like this, placing another turbine, something like this, and now you can go ahead and place more turbines if you want. But obviously pinch fist, 3 turbines is fine. You can even get 4 because you're selling all your metal. But now you would sell this front part, or whenever, because you can sell all your metal whenever you have extra energy, but you can't have enough metal to start selling metal. And now if you turn on grid, you can actually get a mine right here and right here. Now, there's really a lot of different branching variations here, just because, again, build order doesn't matter too much on this map. You can go ahead and immediately get workshop or immediately expand down. I guess you don't really need to do this. I just kind of like doing this. You do want... Okay, that part's not really crucial, but you kind of want this to resemble a Stalactites base, so you kind of want to build straight down, so looking like this. You grab this strut and you drag this down. So you have this connected, and now we build this down, so 52 energy all the way straight here, and now you're going to connect this and this together. Obviously, so when you're looking at these bases, there's sort of like three forces pulling here. One of them is pulling down once you like when I'm talking about the wood span. One of them is going to be pulling down here, so you need this strut to be strong. One of them is going to be moving left on the bottom here. This is why you need this strut to be strong. And one of them is going to be pulling right over here, which means you need stability here. And if any of them aren't filled, then it's going to put a lot of extra weight on one of the other features of your base, and thus make you more likely to spontaneously combust. Now I would fill in the gaps here. You can leave it as original for that as well, but the important part is to get this and this. That's the key parts. Now you want to expand down like such. And now, notice I'm using grid to place this node here. I guess in here would also work, but ideally something looking like this. And now, this is actually, this is the part where I think the build order a little bit changes because of the meta. You would obviously get a mine here, but depending on if you want to get a swarm or not, you can place your mine here or here. I'm just going to cover this here. So you go, turn on grid, you place your mine as far to the front as possible, like this, because you have grid on. Now you place your mine, and then you get your tech, you get your upgrade center. And now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to get a silo. So first, we go down like this. I built the structure a bunch of times. Actually, no, it doesn't have to be too specific. This saves like 20 metal the way I do it, but you can probably spend a couple more metal and a couple more foundation nodes anyways. The idea is you get this foundation node after you turn on grid here. It's really good when you're building on like these circular structures that you use grid, just because it helps you prevent like weird axes where you can't build to the right. But yeah, as I was saying, you go ahead and have this foundation node here, and this way you can go ahead and get a silo. You can get a swarm here. But I'm not going to get it right now just because it's not that important. And remember, this silo could also be very easily sniped. The reason why you place your mine up here is because this way your silo could be more protected. But now, it's finally time to show the double buzzsaw cheese. Plan B, just don't defend it right now, against it right now. I'm gonna see Plan B burn and crash to the ground.
Let me undefend it.
No. Yeah, no, it's fine. There's no point. There's no such thing as defending it. Like, there's no such thing as defending double buzzsaw cheese. It's the greatest thing in the world. So the idea is here, before this tech finishes, it's about to complete, you build like 5 boxes down. You can do 6 or 4 if you want as well. You can even do 6 or 7, but that's really your choice. You can get 2 buzzsaws like such. 2 buzzsaws just do exponentially more damage. And I will say this is the best strategy in all of Forts. And this is why this map is the #1 cheese map. So you want to aim... Stop it! You gave me a jump scare, Plan B. You want to aim right here, alright? And I just want to show you what happens. So they have a really bad day. If they have anything down here, it dies. You can also target the battery. Can I... And that blows up there. Usually they will have tech here because it's the most reasonable spot to build their tech, which means you can buzzsaw this as well. And they also buzzsaw this connection. So how do you defend against this? You build out, either you put a bunch of metal all the way here, but by the way, this buzzsaw can shoot really far up too. So either you put buzzsaws a bunch of the place, metal all over the place. This is 400 metal, by the way. So you need like 2 pieces of metal, them to build like 2 pieces of metal to make your investment worth it. Or they build a bunch of boxes, which really isn't that realistic because that reaches 400 metal really fast, and it doesn't even encounter double buzzsaw because double buzzsaw is a menace. It'll probably disconnect them out of 10 times, and they're just gonna have a very bad day. Obviously they can snipe it, but if you're going for like Pinterest, you have a pretty fast build order, it comes out pretty fast, and also you could just get a sniper to counteract that. Once you get your double buzzsaw, I would get some more turbines. As I said before, timing doesn't matter too much because you usually have the central structure to protect you against first strikes. You can go ahead and get a silo here. You can get a nuke here. I will say after the balance changes, this is a little bit worse because the fire beam does cover the nuke a little bit worse now. But the idea is that once you get this nuke, any map where you can just get a nuke, you should probably get a nuke because having this such a threat is just amazing. The entire point is you can attack this bottom expansion with this nuke here, and it makes them have a very bad day, like such. So this is gonna be what firebeam cover looks like, and this nuke is very threatening. I will say, and because you have this firebeam cover, it makes it pretty much impossible to take down the nuke unless they pre-fire or there's some wacky stuff with flak. This bottom schlong over here also makes your nuke go lower and does help with the angle overall. But I will mention that it's harder for your nuke to paint up there in their base because they could get gunners here and your firebeams won't be able to cover it. So what this nuke does is essentially anything on this bottom expansion, you can target it extraordinarily and ridiculously easily, and you basically deny your opponent from having anything remotely valuable on the bottom expansion, while on the top expansions maybe the nukes are not as suppressive. Now the strategy on this map, generally anything works. I know they've recently nerfed lasers, but I'm still going to demonstrate them. You can really place your weapons anywhere on this map. I actually forgot to show stability tech. And it's Stalactite stability tech. You place a node here, not actually close to the top here. You want to do something looking like this. This struts here and here. You connect it here. You drag to the right. You drag to the left. And there we go, you got stability tech. And now you can also do more stability tech like this. Though I will say it's a little bit excessive because you're not really putting anything under here unlike Stalactites, so you don't need that much stability. I'm just gonna demonstrate it though. You actually can't get that, I don't know why I tried to. This is the Stalactite stability tech. Watch my Stalactite stability tech tutorial if you need to. I guess these 2 struts here are pretty important, and you know, they're usually defending. And how you want to place your lasers is, if they're assuming this barrel is still present, the way you can avoid hitting your first strike onto a useless barrel is by placing lasers up here. Though notice that if you want to place your lasers up here, I would recommend making your boxes the right size and also maybe not angling upwards. So let's do 53 energy here. Let's just rework this actually. So probably like 53 or 50 energy, somewhere in between that, all the way up top. Like such. Stop it! No. I'm supposed to shoot you, Plan B. You're a test subject. Okay, now you can make this a little bit more flat. What's you hitting? Yes, that's it. I think that's Plan B hitting the tile actually, so that is still a threat. Again, you can get fire beams and lasers up here. The downside to this is that you can't put tiny doors on it without totally obliterating your angle. But you can really hit their entire base with these lasers up here. The only downside is that they're a little bit targetable. You can't get lasers down here, though with this center explosion, that means you can't target anything up here. So I guess if they have cannons up here, for example, cannons is a very strong eco weapon where if they target really anywhere, they can get good value, especially if they have howitzers. But lasers, if you're not targeting their weapons, you're kind of cooked. So lasers down here is questionable. And now you have lasers up here. Lasers up here, you can target their lasers up here and anything down here really well, but you can't target their core. That's, I guess, a risk. So you can really evaluate in different positions as you become better at the game where you want to place your lasers. But the general rule of thumb is that you can kind of place your lasers anywhere and they'll probably at least somewhat viable in every situation. But yeah, this is how you would do lasers. I guess they explode a lot more violently now, so be aware of chain explosions. My poor bore lasers. I don't know what I'm targeting. I don't think there's anything in there, is there? Just...
I'm slightly lower than what you did.
Okay, I'm not gonna kill the Plan B right now. Against other strategies, if it's cannons, cannons can burn it up really easily. Also, be aware you can always have nukes firing. Oh, I also forgot to mention the rest of the back turbines. Excuse me for the back bad tutorials. How you want to do the rest of the back turbines is you can fit, I believe, 9 turbines total, but reasonably can fit 8. So This is a little bit more complicated. You're gonna go ahead and go from this bottom node here. You're gonna drag up. Make sure you're using foreground bracing, and to the minimum amount where you can see this before ground bracing. So here, here, and here. Here, and here. This way you can get 3 more turbines. Make sure it's as close to the right as possible, so it doesn't lose efficiency. And now you repeat the same process. This way you make your turbine box as short as possible, which is 65 energy, and thus you can get 2 more turbines like this. This is going to be 8 back turbines. And now if you want to get further turbines, which you often will, especially if you have a nuke at the bottom, is you're going to be getting turbines here and here. And this is the other spot. Be aware there is a 1 floor if you get really low with this. I think 2 or 3 layers of back low turbines is fine. Once you get below this, you start losing efficiency to 75%. But generally speaking, you can have something looking like this. And if you're worried about defending it, it's not really like back turbines because it's so far behind your base that you'll probably be fine most of the time anyways. I'm just going to go ahead and showcase what a normal base looks like. So something looking like this is fine. The reason why I built this afterwards, I built all this front weight, because you don't want all of your wood spam to be supported by this. It's just really dangerous because this can be very easily chopped off and thus making your entire, bait just violently shake and thus probably even collapse sometimes. That's why I built it afterwards. But reasonably, a lot of times you can defend really easily here, and you can also put shields here if you want to as well. Other strategies exist, but against howitzers, howitzers aren't too strong on this map because you can get trench shotguns literally anywhere on the base, like such. Yeah, but that's basically everything you need to cover on this map. Usually games on this map, I will say, lasts a bit longer because you can just place weapons that they can't immediately shoot at, and because a lot of the game ending strategies just don't take that long. But yeah, that's basically it. It's time for elephants. Elephants is also a map that looks pretty different from other forts as well. So first of all, when we look in this map, let's look at features we can recognize. Your core is relatively close to the ground, but you don't have that much metal to sell, so Pinterest is not super strong on this map, just because you have like a couple pieces of metal to sell at max. You have expansions, and that's the main thing. So your eco is gonna be very spread out, which is why I think on this map, for example, mortars are actually a bit stronger than normally, especially Firebird. Firebird is usually a commander that's B tier at best on most maps, but this map it's actually become quite viable, so I do want to try to cover other unique strategies as well. But if you're not playing Firebird, I think the better strategy is just probably overdrive cannon stacking, because overdrive cannon stacking is very strong, or any commander other just cannon stacking on top. I'm not going to cover that though, and also I'm going to showcase the base design. So what does it look like when you hop on? This is what it's going to look like. So you're going to place 1 turbine or maybe 2. I recommend 1 turbine. You're going to place 1 mine here. You're going to build out all the way here, a little bit upwards, so this strut can be like 107 energy-ish, as long as possible. Generally speaking, I would also do this. And now you want to build to the left a little bit up, so that you can still fill in this strut. But make this as long as possible. Repeat the process, make this as long as possible. Repeat the process, make this as long as possible. You can connect this if you want, that's optional. You can connect this 107 energy as long as possible, and now you can go ahead and connect this kind of like that. Make sure you're using grid, by the way, when you connect to here. This is really important, so you get this on this tippy edge where you can build down and build up with this node. Now you can go ahead and get mines and whatnot. I would get 1 mine, and now I can get back turbines. There we go. So that's how your general base should look like. You can also sell this foundation node too, because you just kind of don't need it. And this is how you do backlean, and you do yeah. And now how you want to do stability tech is you want to build down like this, a strut kind of as close to this as possible to let you as long as possible. And you turn on auto cross brace, by the way, and you drag this to the left, and it's going to have these 2 nodes here, and you can kind of repeat the same process here. If you can't get this node, which sometimes it won't let you, you can do something looking like this. And now I would do 1 more stability tech, which is something looking like this, and then something looking like this. So this strut, actually, you forget all the time just because you don't see it, but make sure you get that strut too if you're putting any weight on this. If you're not putting weight, you don't need the, if you're not putting weight up top, then you don't need that, I guess. And how you want to, and how the rest of your base should look like is generally speaking something like this. Once again, when you look at the space, be force pushing onto the left here, force putting right over here, and then force pushing down. So this is against the force pushing down, and against the force pushing left, because you have full extra foundation nodes here, it's not a huge threat. I want to, there we go. And you so this is generally how your wood spam is supposed to look like. once eventually you can sell this turbine. Just like this, make sure that these struts are long, just because, you know, there's gonna be a lot of weight on that. But I'm gonna go ahead and quickly cover Firebird. So what should Firebird build orders look like? First of all, you should not have this much stability tech and all this extra wood spam and all, because that's expensive. There's a lot of different build orders to Firebird, because you can really go for a slower build order that's getting faster upgrade center. You can also, you know, just skip upgrade center and stuff like that, but I'm just gonna cover this one, which is a little bit the most, I guess, the easiest to do. So you're gonna get all mines. Again, 2 turbines up here. You shouldn't have built all this yet. I'm just gonna delete the parts where I don't think you're supposed to have at this point. That's just for clear. Now your base should look like something like this. Yeah, workshop, you build down. Oh, how do you build down? Is you want to build like a strut here, and then you want this strut to be as long as possible. So something looking like this, like 105 is fine, or decently long, I guess, onto the bottom right. And then you want to build down, I guess, more down than right. Make sure you're building more down than right. Something looking like this, and then you want to go ahead and use grid, and you could want to go ahead and connect like this, and this is going to be 106 energy. This is the cheapest way to connect this. I guess there is some risk of being buzzsawed. It's not too much though, because you're pretty close overall, and if you're getting buzzsawed, then, you know, that's not a huge issue. You can only fit 1 mine here, so if you can turn on grid and place this as close to the left as possible, this is but yeah, after that, this is going to be what your base looks like. There's a lot of different ways to do Firebird. My personal favorite is to do something looking like this. Something looking like this. This. So this way you can go ahead and get mortars on this strut, this strut, this strut, this strut, and this strut. There's not a right amount of mortars you can do. Generally speaking, at least 4 is usually the right number. The more mortars, the better. Bait mortaring really doesn't do that much anymore, because the bait mortar only pulls 2 gunners, and if your opponent has more than 2 gunners, then the bait mortar won't do that much. Though I will say it's not useless. You can fire them straight up, or you can, or literally any other way as well. But so why is Firebird really strong on this map? It's because most of the time you see all your exposed mines, right? The things Incendiary Mortar struggle on is sandbags. It takes like 7 Incendiary Mortars just to kill a single sandbag, which is why if your opponent just has a decent roof of everything like in the front and on top, then it's going to be very difficult. But if you look at this map, you have so much different expansions and things you have to keep task of, which, for example, turbines up here, where it's just extraordinarily weak to Firebird. They're gonna have a very bad time. Also, anti-air is gonna be very scattered. There's this bottom expansion, there's this top expansion. You can cover a really wide area with Firebird gunners as well, and because you're so far away, their bullets are gonna have drop, especially if you can put it on top, where the Firebird gunners are gonna start doing pretty good damage. How you want to fire mortar, generally speaking, is you want to fire them always straight up, or always them or as at most angle as possible. So this map is quite big. And here, this is what you see. My opponent has decent like array of gunners, for example, and it's gonna stop that. So how you want to play Firebird is the entire Firebird thing relies on its ability. How are you gonna get this ability? The mortars don't actually charge up the ability that much, especially because it gets shot down a lot. Because it gets shot down a lot, and even when it does, because burn damage doesn't count towards the extra commander gauge, you want to go ahead and quickly, you can quickly get buzzsaws, for example, and buzzsaws are by far the best way to charge your commander active, like such. Plus, they're just incredible cheeses. I don't know how you're alive, but by the way, if you chop this strut off, their core falls off. So let's avoid there. Usually mortars will go through at least a little bit here. Also you should probably get a sniper, just because snipers are a good idea against any exposed gunners. I missed. I think in a perfect environment, Firebird is not viable, but I see Firebird being played a lot at the competitive environments too. That bottom expansion is really defended. Plancha Plan B is just building a lot more boxes than people usually do. But yeah, you get the point. And once you have the Firebird active, you just need a couple gunners to rain down death and destruction above all of their quote-unquote trench gunners. Because, would you look at that? A lot of this stuff is quote-unquote trenched, but is it really trenched if it's all blown up? And also, it's doing significantly repair costs to any mines like such or anything down here. And thus, after that, once you destroyed all your gunners, you can just keep piling on with more mortars. You can eventually get upgraded mortars, or you can go ahead and transition into 20 mils, which is really good with Firebird. Or you can do Firebeam mortars if you know how to do that. There's a lot of different options after that. different ways of diversifying. But besides that, I'm also going to quickly showcase a cannon stacking thing. I guess this base is probably sufficient enough to just straight up cannon stack on. How I want a cannon stack is on, you just kind of place above your core, and you just kind of stack cannons, like such. Usually people would play lasers here, but after the balance changes, before the balance changes, I think I probably would have showcased how to play lasers and firebeam mortars, but firebeam mortars got a massive nerf in almost every way. Also, the reason why I say fiber is really strong on this map because they buff incendiary mortars too. So, you go like this. Obviously, some of your turbines aren't going to be spinning anymore. You want to connect this to the front here and get some more back turbines. No, stop it. No, okay, you get the point. Oh, I also did a rank tutorial already about cannon stacking, I guess, on this map. So I don't know if I need to explain that too much. But, no, you get the point. You can also cannon stack too. I wouldn't cannon stack with Firebird, obviously. This is how a cannon stacking base should look. And also, I really forgot to mention this. When you're going Firebird, your mortars cost a lot more energy than before after the balance change. You're going to do 3 to back turbines like this. If you don't do back lean, you can get 4 back turbines, but I don't think that's relevant. If you want to get shotguns, you can get shotguns below. You can also play lasers on this map as well. There's a lot of different options, I guess, and yeah, that's basically it.